This is Emmett.
And Jessica.
And you're listening to the Friendly Atheist Podcast. If you like what you're listening to, go to patreon.com/Friendly Atheist Podcast. This is episode 300. Yay. Oh my God, you just popped a bottle of stuff.
Champagne.
Yay.
Well, it's not champagne, it's sparkling wine.
Thank you.
Happy 300 episodes, my friend.
We did it. They said it couldn't be done. No one said that.
No, everybody was saying that.
Yes.
And by everyone, I mean my parents.
It's nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you
300 episodes.
Sweet.
This is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
So if you've been listening the last couple of weeks, I put out a call for just listeners who've been listening for however long and sort of how the podcast has helped them on their journey or affected them in whatever way. And boy, oh boy, y'all showed up.
Yeah.
I have
Lots of
I have a
letters.
lot of them. I won't be able to get them all. So if you sent us an email and I don't get to it, I'm really sorry.
And we can't even read the full letters in a lot of cases because they were really long.
Really long.
Which
really,
was amazing to read.
Yeah, it was really lovely. Also, I got a new mic.
Look at that.
So,
and to that, we could thank our latest new Patreon supporters.
Thank you, you guys.
Thank you to Miriam K., Terry C., Carl B., Rob S., Cudgel, Amy S., and Ted H.
Hear that?
Thank you so much. I hear the champagne in my ears. While you are... so we'll intersperse some of those
Take that
letters.
in this American life. We can do cool shit, too.
It's the same thing. We are going to talk about some stories that we want to talk about this week, and we'll intersperse them with some of your messages, which were just, we wanted to share them. They were fun to read.
Yeah, they were really wonderful. Can we kick off with some? Because I think we have many more emails than stories.
Start off with the nice one.
They're all nice.
Oh, right. We won't read the mean ones.
There were no mean ones. So I'm going to read this first one from Morgan, who we both met when she came to our meetup in Chicago in October. Fun story about Morgan. I think this is Morgan. Apparently she saw my mom at the bar before I got there and saw her, was like, that looks like Jess, because my mom and I have the same face. And also she came down from Kalamazoo with her non-listener spouse, which was incredible. Anyway, my mom has been dining out on those two stories for months. She loved it. My period of enlightenment began when I read The God Delusion in summer of 2018 and realized that I've been brainwashed to believe BS since birth. During my identity crisis, I searched on Stitcher for atheism and found you. I was already sure I didn't believe in God at that point, but was still struggling to accept my non-belief, as I was raised conservative Christian. Your podcast was my first introduction to atheism as not a dirty word, as it is in the Christian culture. It didn't take long for me to realize that I was one of you and officially replace my Christian label with atheist. Now I'm completely comfortable in my non-belief, and I attribute a lot of it to listening to you two every week. I will never forget how the Friendly Atheist podcast opened up my eyes and mind to the real world and helped me escape the mental prison of religion.
Aww.
That was one of the longer ones because I just thought it was a really nice story. I'm going to read a shorter one.
Yeah.
From Marco. I've been a listener since the first episode and learned a ton of things from the both of you. Being an atheist from Texas, I always have been centered right in the middle. But since listening to the podcast, my views have shifted slightly left. I used to think like Bill Burr when it came to feminism, and I've completely changed my views. I asked a friend what Bill Burr's views were on feminism because I could not bring myself to watch like a 20-minute YouTube video. Not strong. So Marco, I'm glad we helped.
That's awesome. So on the same line,
yes.
Let's talk about this guy. Okay, there was in Savannah, Georgia, there was a 10K run. Mm-hmm. And so lots of people doing this thing because apparently there are people out there who run for fun.
I've run a 10K.
Sure.
I have.
I've run a 5K, and I put run in very big quotation marks.
Well, I ran twice as many as you, so...
Nice. You win this one. So they're running. There's a local news team there because it's a local thing to do. And this woman is just talking about, hey, they're doing this run here, and it's nice, and I'm assuming it's for charity or something. And as people are running past, and the reporter is talking to the camera, a guy just runs past and slaps her ass. And you could see the visible look of shock on her face as she's trying to do the professional thing in reporting, but also she's human. And she's like, what the hell did this guy just
dropped that
do?
mic and gone after his ass.
Right?
He's been running for like 4 miles already. I can catch him.
she tweeted, like right after that, to the man who smacked my butt on live TV this morning, you violated, objectified, and embarrassed me. No woman should ever have to put up with this at work or anywhere. Do better. At the time, we didn't know who it was.
Right.
And it didn't take long for people to like zoom in, figure out his badge number, and figure out who it was. Guess who it turns out he is?
Oh, this was such a great plot twist because this story already sucks. Like,
Right.
It sucked that a dude did this. Tell me more about him.
He's a Christian youth leader
What?
at a Methodist church, and a couple of things have happened. Like, first of all, I've heard different labels attached to this guy. So I've heard him referred to as a pastor and a minister.
I've heard youth minister.
Youth minister. I have contacted the church, and they haven't gotten back to me yet. But
Why?
he is, I don't know.
Do they have something else going
But
on?
youth leader, whatever you want to take that as, is the best thing I've heard this referred to. But the church still hasn't commented on any of this. And here's where we're at. Like, so far, the Savannah Sports Council, which ran the race, they're like, this guy's banned forever
Sure.
from our races. The guy's lawyer put out a statement saying, among other things, Tommy Calloway, Tommy is a loving husband and father who is very active in his community.
Sure.
We do not expect any criminal charges to arise from this incident, and we are working with those involved to correct the situation. So, loving husband, devoted father,
He
sort
forgot
of
to apologize.
Christian leader, sort of guy who slaps women on the ass randomly.
That makes me feel so icky.
So as of yesterday, I believe, the guy has since come out of the shadows because he shut down social media and stuff.
Sure.
He's now come out and basically, you could decide if this is a good apology.
Can I place my bet before I hear it?
Yes.
Not.
So he basically says, I'm quoting here. This is what he said to a local TV. This is what he said to Inside Edition.
Okay.
I was getting ready to bring my hands up and wave to the camera, to the audience, and there was a misjudgment in character and decision making. I touched her back. I didn't know exactly where I touched her. So there's part of the
Wait.
apology.
Hold on.
Yes.
Did he touch her by accident while trying to wave, or did he touch her on purpose but was
My
aiming
guess
for
is
her
neither,
back?
because neither of those actually describes what
that
everyone
thing
could see.
that people do when they slap you on the back when you're reporting? That regular human thing that human people do?
Yes. And then he goes on to say, I totally agree 100% with her statement, the one I just read to you on the tweet. The two most important words were her last two words, do better, and that's my intention. If I did see her facial reaction, I would have been embarrassed, felt ashamed, and I would have stopped, turned around, and apologized to her. As if he needed the reaction to realize, oh, that's wrong. I'm not supposed to touch women.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's funny because if I strangle people from behind,
Yeah.
I can't see their face.
Oh, then you can keep doing it.
So I don't know
That's how it works.
what the effect is. But if
Yeah.
I'm face to face, if I'm like locked in with them, I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I have to be doing this. I have to touch you, please.
He's also a Boy Scout leader, by the way, because
Well.
of course he is. So anyway, the church hasn't said anything about this. They haven't said if they're going to discipline him for something he did when he wasn't, like, on the clock.
Right.
But also, this isn't the sort of thing that ever gets punished for real. So it's really
Right.
just a matter of how is he going to deal with it? She, by the way, I don't think she said, like, I accept the apology. I think she rightly just kind of said, I heard it. Like, I'm paraphrasing that. She said,
Right.
whether I'm open to hearing his apology or not, I want to take my time with that. I think what it really comes down to is he helped himself to a part of my body. Yeah, which is
Wow.
accurate.
She's
badass.
very good at like laying that case out.
Yeah, and
Helped
this
himself to
guy,
part of
every
my
time he
body.
keeps
Damn.
talking, it doesn't make him look better. And I'll let you read a couple more because there's another story that is along these same lines that I
Similar?
want to talk about.
Okay, I want to read this letter from Ethan. And I don't know if I made it clear, but I did cut them all down.
Yeah.
They should still be getting the point across and like pull single words. Jessica and Hammond are the best. So this is from Ethan. I started listening to your podcast back in 2017. I was Christian for most of my life, but at this point I was a new closeted atheist. I listened because it made me feel like I had a community, like there are others out there like me. Since then, I've come out to my wife, who's a Christian, as an atheist, stopped going to church, started on the path to get my mental health in check, yay, that was me, and started understanding more about myself. Turns out I'm pansexual, which I never would have let myself admit 2 years ago. I'm happier, healthier, and still love listening to you both every Friday. So a lot of the theme I've noticed, a lot of people have like come around to their atheism, but to me, the more gratifying stuff is like, oh, I worked on my mental health, or I learned about feminism, or I am pro-choice now, or what? Actually, there's one I want to find because I really liked it. It's from Mel, and I bolded it so I didn't miss it.
Do you want me
Mel.
to keep?
Nope, found it.
Go for it.
Mel, not Mel, sorry. Your podcast also coincided with me being able to make new friends and come out to myself and others as a trans woman. And it has been incredibly important knowing that there is a place for LGBT people and atheism, and your continued support as the issues we face, which are so threaded together with church and state separation, has given me hope and cause to become more active socially and politically as I get to be more authentically myself. So thank you both.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a good one. Let
So
me do one more short
please,
one.
yes.
This is from. I'm gonna cram jam these in here because they're all great. And Daddy's bringing over a toy. If you hear crunching, that's what that is. From Joy, thanks to your podcast and a recommended reading from you guys, I went from a nun to a full-blown atheist and not afraid to say it in the past 2 years.
Aw.
Yeah,
That's awesome. I wanted to update people on this anti-theism conference we talked about last
yeah.
week, where they had
Are we on their radar?
Oh, yeah. Where they had a couple of... one of the co-organizers did this interview where he basically laughed off the idea that sexual assault was a problem and inviting an alleged predator on stage was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, we've all done it, whatever. And it wasn't good. And I think this happened when we talked about it. He has since been, quote unquote, fired. And there's now the one other organizer. So I've been in conversation with this guy for several days now because I wrote about it on the website. We talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
And this other guy, his name is John Richards. He's trying to salvage whatever was a problem. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's working. And I think part of it is he doesn't know what he doesn't know. So he's like, but look, I did the thing. So why is everyone still mad at me? And it's like, because you didn't actually fix the problems, because you don't understand them.
And you don't care to learn.
And you don't care to learn it. So anyway, among the many things they've done to try to fix it, first, they fired this other guy, right? Mm-hmm. So my question is, well, then what's his role in the conference now? The guy who made all those horrible comments... he's off the website. Okay. Fine. He's not going to speak at the conference. That's nice. Is he sponsoring it? Mm-hmm. Is he going to be allowed at the conference? Because he seems like the sort of guy who gets in trouble.
Sure.
Like, what's going on? I have not gotten a straight answer to that.
Cool.
So he's, like, fired, but I guess he may still play a role here. Who knows?
So he'll probably attend at the very least?
Who knows?
Okay, because they're not being transparent.
Lawrence Krauss, the alleged predator, who is invited to speak there, and that was the crux of the problem. Like, hey, this guy's been accused of some pretty heinous stuff, not by one woman, by like multiple people.
Right.
And the only reason like nothing has happened is because at the university he used to work at, before they could do a thorough investigation, he's like, well, I quit.
See you never, nerds.
Yeah. And so he just walked away. And again, this is not the sort of thing that there are criminal charges against often for a lot of reasons. Mm-hmm. But it's more like, oh, his behavior is one that you either don't believe or you don't take seriously. Right. It's one or the other.
You don't care about it.
And so they invited him on stage. But here's what they said. One of the YouTubers, and there have been several, who has spoken out a lot about the problems with this conference, is a woman, I believe, from Britain, but Rachel Oates. I like her material. She does a lot of good stuff. Mm-hmm. And she's spoken out against a lot of the stuff we talked about. So he said... And I'm quoting in an email he sent to me. And I feel like, you know what? I say this on my website anyway. When you send me an email, I get the right to do what I want with it.
Yeah.
If you send me something personal, I'm not going to share that.
Right.
But when you say something stupid and you're trolling me or something, I can totally just say, oh, look, someone wrote this. He said...
Oh, my God. I'm so excited.
Yeah. One of the things he did, I'm quoting, I've invited Rachel Oates, a YouTube campaigner against sexism, among other things, to advise me on the devising of a suitable safeguarding policy for the event, basically a policy.
Sure.
And I have offered her a paid opportunity to address the convention on the scourge of misogyny. Okay. Again, this is the sort of thing you do when you don't know what else to do. It's like, look, I'm giving her a presence on stage. And by the way, none of this has anything to do with Rachel.
Sure.
If she accepts it, that's her decision. If she doesn't, it's on her. I'm not critiquing anything about her here. But the idea that, we're still going to invite the alleged sexual predator, but don't worry, we're also inviting someone to speak about the scourge of misogyny. At the same time, therefore, we're doing the right thing because both sides misogyny, I guess.
Yeah, y'all can't have it both ways, my dude. Like, you can't say...
Thank you, Rachel, for your speech on misogyny. Now onto the stage of sexual predator.
Don't worry, Rachel, you won't be in the same room as Lawrence Krauss. We know what happens when that happens.
Remember, this is the same guy who said, don't worry about Lawrence Krauss. His wife will be there. As if it's the wife's job to keep him from touching people.
I'm sorry, have you not gotten the memo? Women are responsible for their men. So also, if a woman is cheated on, it's her fault. If she cheats, also her fault.
Right. And he also made a separate video, this guy, John, on YouTube. It is still public. That basically saying very condescendingly, like, Rachel, since you won't answer my email, I'm paraphrasing this, like, since you won't answer my email, I'm going to make this video basically saying, help me devise a conference policy that involves, like, a harassment policy.
Is she the only human woman he knows?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, what?
So, and by the way, he's basically saying, it's on you now. You do the work. You create the policy that you want me to implement. Like, no, don't talk to her like you want this so badly. Then you make it for us.
Jesus Christ.
It's just...
Dude, you're not doing a good job of this.
Not helping. And then, this is back to me now, because this is all about me. I must say, though, that you have gone down in my estimation. After years of being a fan, I find that you make cheap shots at your fellow, quote, atheists.
Wait.
How dare you speak out against my convention?
Hold on. I need to talk about the scare quotes. Is he implying that he's not a real atheist? Because that's what that would imply. I don't really know what the scare quotes are about.
One of the things we talked about with the cost of this convention, which was a lot, but he's like, that was for the VIP tickets. Regular tickets, he would like me to tell everyone, are £199 or euro or 129. And if they do, first 10 of our listeners who order a weekend pass before the end of the year, $50 off if they use the code FRIENDLY at checkout.
Our listeners?
Yeah, and my...
I'm sorry, is he paying us to advertise his thing?
Maybe.
Okay, I will say that's a very reasonable price for a convention.
That would be. It's still a lot, and also that's not the issue. The reason people brought up the pricing is like, wait, let's get this straight. You invited the Predator on stage and like yourself and a couple of other people with varying degrees of notoriety, but also like €1,000 for this VIP treatment. It's like, dude, you are not a thing yet. You're not Comic-Con. Relax, buddy. But also, okay, fine. I get that a conference takes money to put on. I've said this before. I know tickets are going to be there, but it's just the way they came across. Like, this is the event of the century.
Yeah, it was pretty
That's the issue. It's not just the pricing. But then I didn't respond to that email, so I got another one.
Oh,
it gets better. Am I going to get satisfaction in the form of a public apology? Or I'm not done yet.
Yeah, go ahead.
Or do I have to complain to Pathos?
Oh, no.
Do I have to tell your bosses about you? I'm like, so I wrote back.
Do I have to tell your bosses that you said a true thing?
Yeah, I quoted you directly.
How could you haven't?
So I wrote back, oh, please complain. I beg of you, please complain. I haven't heard from them since.
If he is listening, I have a couple things I would like to say. One is, I think the problem is, it seems like you're trying to backpedal out of this like weird niche you found yourself into. And the problem that I'm having is that it does not seem that you understand why it's problematic that you have invited a known sexual predator, alleged sexual predator, to your convention, which it telegraphs to the women who are planning on attending or considering attending that their safety is not as important as
getting that name onto the stage.
Yeah.
Right.
Your friend with his hella problematic garbage about who among us hasn't raped is a whole other thing. And I suggest you reevaluate that friendship because you might be friends with a literal predator. 3,
or someone who doesn't care about it.
Yeah, which isn't, I was going to say just as bad. It's not as bad. Being a predator is worse. It's not great, though.
Again, ignorance is one thing. What I don't get is I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to this stuff. Because when you're, again, I've said this before in defense of these types of events, which is a lot of people run them with the best of intentions and they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And the problem with that is I know how much money these things cost to put on. Mm-hmm. I know the benefit of staging these things. But if you don't know how to run it properly and you don't have advice coming in from a bunch of people who have done it a lot of times, you're going to make a lot of these dumb mistakes. And I think, okay, in the best possible light, his argument is, let me get a couple of really famous atheists that would actually come to this. I'll try to get a couple of, I don't know, B-list atheists, whatever. It's a stupid list I just made up.
No, yeah.
But I'll get a couple of other people that maybe some people know. We'll get together in a room. But then to hype that up as if this is the biggest event ever, it's not. It's the first time you've done it. To pretend we're going to give awards away to people for their activism. And if you get an award, it's going to mean big things for you. No, it won't.
Right.
To sell the prices to people for this shit show that are ridiculously high, not just like...
It just reads to me like...
Even if it's VIP.
Yeah, I don't know.
VIP for a convention like this is not really VIP. I'll say that too. If you're inviting me to your conference and you're like, here's a VIP, give us $1,000, I hope you are making a donation because I am not worth that.
I mean, to me, this just very much reads of 2 guys who don't necessarily know what they're doing, which is fine. Like,
but
joke's on me, nobody knows what they're doing.
Yes, but go learn. Get advice from people first. If you want Rachel's input on this, that's great. I would advise you to do that, but don't do that like...
Don't do it publicly and then
don't do it after the fact, after you screwed up. And then it's, oh, well, if you don't like the policy, blame her.
Right.
We asked.
This sort of has shades of... Firefest.
Oh, which they have been compared to.
Oh, have they?
I'm sorry, not them. That was another atheist doing stupid things.
But it just
and got very upset.
It kind of reads like that to me, of like a couple guys who maybe have good intentions and like want to try to do something cool and great, but like failed to do the legwork and just assumed it would all come together for them. And then as soon as they hit a speed bump, one guy lost his whole goddamn mind, and the other one is left cleaning up the scraps, which is an unenviable position. But also, you did not do the legwork to do this thing. Guys, if you're planning a public event, invite women and invite people of color into it, because guess what? We have perspectives that you might not have considered.
Or just anyone who's not you. Just ask for advice, because these people did it without thinking. I don't know what their organization team looks like, but if it's a bunch of people who think exactly like you, and this is the point you're getting at, like, of course you're going to make these mistakes.
Yeah.
And again, I've learned because people spoke up about the problems with this stuff. And that was years ago.
Right.
Like, and atheist conventions as a whole, if that's a thing you like to go to, in my opinion, even though the convention attendance has probably gone down, because I don't think it's as popular as much as a thing to do.
Well, and
the conventions
conference attendance
themselves
overall has gone down, not just in the atheist world.
But the ones that are professional and that happen every year and are run by people who know what they're doing, anecdotally, they seem to have gotten better by and large in a lot of ways. They're more diverse speakers. The policies are in place. I'm not saying they all work or whatever, but in terms of like basic stuff that any conference organizer could tell you to do, it tends to fit that profile. They're running it professionally, not as let's just gather a bunch of... Anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk happy things.
No, I have to read things first.
Yes, read things. That's what I mean by happy, because I don't have any good news here. No, I lie. I'll give you a happy story after this.
Okay. Let me go to Jenny. So, okay, I picked up halfway. So thank you for your guidance. I like the articles, videos, and podcasts. I love how political you are. And I also think that religion and government shouldn't happen at all. And my country is a good example of that. I'm in Nicaragua, one of the 5 countries where abortion is prohibited in all circumstances. So I think your activism is truly important. In my country, we have a dictatorship, so we can't protest because if we do, we get imprisoned. Things can get truly ugly when religion gets intertwined with government, which is...
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, say what you will about America, and I have. I mean...
It's worse in some places.
Yeah. From Darren. I can't say your podcast has helped me necessarily in the realm of atheism, but it has helped me in the realm of my stance on abortion rights. Living in Texas, I'm surrounded by constant anti-abortion rhetoric. I used to lean more on the anti-choice side because I saw it as the woman wouldn't die from having that baby, and we shouldn't have to kill a human being because someone just doesn't want to be a parent. Thanks to both of your arguments and Jessica's constant yelling and cursing on this issue, cussing, I have come to the nuance that the pro-choice argument is really to... I've come to see the nuance to the pro-choice argument and really to see that at the end of the day, the woman has the ultimate right to choose her own fate and what happens to her body, and a clump of cells feeding off her body does not have more rights than the living, breathing, feeling, thinking woman. Which I thought was very good. That's Darren. Do one more.
Yes.
From Kristen, I've used your reporting to talk with my Christian friends and spread awareness on social media. I'm finally comfortable now with my non-theism, and I look forward to someone questioning my beliefs. I don't have all the answers, but I do know a few things are worth fighting for. Church-state separation is one of them. Thank you for all you do.
That's awesome. Let's talk about this guy in Georgia. So we talked about him earlier this year, and basically there's a city in Georgia. It's called Hoxton. I hope I'm saying that correct. But basically...
Is there an X in that?
Sure. No. But they have a city council, and the story that happened earlier this year, and I'm paraphrasing here, the mayor basically had a black guy applied for a job with the city. The mayor was racist. The guy didn't get the job. It was pretty easy to see that he didn't get hired or even considered because he was black. He didn't do anything with that. He said, like, I'm moving on with my life. Moving on.
Sure.
But at one of the city council meetings, right after that whole thing happened, one of the things that happened is Jim Cleveland, the city council member, said during the meeting, you know, we're a predominantly white community, as if to cover the mayor's ass there.
Sure.
And then he kept talking.
And we're going to keep it that way.
Yeah. Well, here's what he said. And keep in mind, the question was like, they were discussing the city's racism against this guy. Here's what Jim Cleveland said. I'm a Christian. Okay. And my Christian beliefs are you don't do interracial marriage.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way I was brought up. That's the way I believe. I have black friends. I hired black people. But when it comes to all the stuff you see on TV, when you see blacks and whites together, it makes my blood boil because that's just not the way a Christian is supposed to live.
Yeah. That's what every Christian in the world believes. So
yeah,
I don't see a problem
again,
there.
the question was, hey, what are you wearing? Like, it had nothing to do with interracial anything, and he does not have black friends. Show me one.
No, he does not have black friends.
So voters in the area were angry enough that they got the signatures necessary to actually do a recall election for this guy and the mayor.
Oh.
They're having a recall election next month. And so theoretically, if voters get their shit together, they could boot this guy out of office.
Dope.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what is Jim Cleveland doing now?
Renounced his racism.
Nope.
Took a class
Try
on
again.
Black history.
No.
Is a feminist.
No.
Is doing work for the homeless youth.
No.
Okay.
Close.
Am I close?
No, not even. He's resigning.
Oh!
He said...
Oh, that's even better than all the things I said.
He said... My thinking of the recall election was, if they got it this far, then why go through an election and let them recall me? I'll just resign. Like, you can't fire me.
Yeah, I quit.
Right?
Yeah.
And then he goes on, because, again, this is the sort of guy who doesn't shut up.
Sure.
I'm tired of hearing it. They are calling me a racist.
Yes.
And I don't consider myself a racist,
Of course
and
you
I'll
don't.
tell you why.
Yes.
I have very good friends that are black.
No.
I have Spanish, Asians, all kinds of members in my church, and none of them consider me a racist.
Have you ever talked to them, sir? Because I bet if you knew them personally, you wouldn't call them, I have Asians.
I know. Asian here. He's a racist. I'm not his friend, though.
When I talk about him, I'm going to say, he's my Asian. You know, like good
and everybody,
friends,
man. By the way, the mayor has not resigned, so voters will still get a chance to recall her. But he's like, no, how dare you call me racist? By the way, interracial marriage is wrong. You can't fire me. I'm quitting. Bye.
This is my
as if he dropped the mic right after that.
Right. This is my favorite, like 21st century trope that's been happening over and over. Is like, I will say racist things that are racist on their face, but if you call me racist, that's the real hate crime. Like, it is so buck wild how these people want it both ways.
That's a Republican Party platform right there. Yes. While we're at it, let's talk about Trump's racism, too. So, racism, bigotry, whatever you want to call it here.
Sure.
Yesterday.
Wait, hold on. Before you do this, I have to do stories.
Yes, please.
We've fallen into a comfortable rhythm.
Oh, no.
From Katie. I just celebrated my 1-year seculariversary. Before that, I was Catholic. Really Catholic. About to become a non-Catholic. The second to last straw was a priest making a trans joke from the pulpit. Like, what even? The actual last straw was having the dubious honor of contributing yet one more name to that list of sex offenders in Pennsylvania in the wake of that grand jury report. Telling my story was the hardest thing I've ever done. It seemed like the perfect moment to mic drop my way out of the whole religion thing. I can't really express how important you folks have been on the start of my journey. I'm just starting to rewire my brain to recognize that things that are that I thought are normal are actually quite fucked up. Your senses of both outrage and humor at all sorts of issues give me courage. Not gonna lie, I cried a little when I saw the title of episode 294. I'm not chewed gum? Really? You promise? Having strangers...
About...
the terrible metaphor that Christians love to use that is...
If you have sex, you're like chewed gum, you're used, you're no good.
A really healthy mindset. Having strangers remind me that the basics of not super Catholic life have been fantastic for my mental health, not to mention entertaining. Keep doing what you're doing. I'll be here for 300 more. That's from Katie.
That's awesome. Donald Trump, let's do this.
Yeah.
Yesterday he held a Hanukkah reception. Okay, that's a thing.
Are we going to talk about his declaration? Okay, because...
we'll talk about the declaration too, but this is not that.
Oh.
So during this
He's done two bad things to Judaism in one day.
Oh, it's more than that. Again, everything he touches turns to shit. It's like the opposite of Midas or whatever. But among the people he had talking at this Hanukkah event was Pastor Robert Jeffress, who is a Christian pastor who's on Fox News all the time saying, I love Trump. Trump is the best thing to ever happen to Christians, blah, blah, blah. He's like, hey, Robert Jeffress, come talk to the Jews about Jews. I'm paraphrasing. Robert Jeffress, by the way, is a guy who went on TV years ago and said, and I'm quoting directly, you can't be saved being a Jew. He also, in that same speech, said Mormons are going to go to hell forever and Muslims will go to hell forever. But I'm quoting, you can't be saved being a Jew, and Donald Trump's reaction is, hey, you should come talk to the Jews.
Cool.
Jeffress was also invited to speak.
Who's showing up to that event, by the way? Who's like, oh, Trump is doing a cool Judaism event. Count me in. Jared Kushner. I forgot he's Jewish. Yeah. Ew, what does he have to say about this? Nothing. He has the spine of a jellyfish.
He doesn't talk. But yeah, then this is one of many things. He also put out a statement or he didn't put out a statement. He basically said to a crowd, I'm paraphrasing. There are bad Jews out there because they don't support the Republican position on Israel. As if the only thing that makes you a true Jew is supporting Republican positions on like Palestinians. And yeah, let's kill the Palestinians. Like that's what it means to be a Jew.
Okay, I know we've been going through this.
So Donald Trump is now the person who gets to decide how Jewish someone is.
I know we've been doing this for such a long time, and we've all kind of like acclimated to the crazy bonkers shit he says. But can you, if I said there are bad Jews out there to my employer, I would have gotten fucking shit canned. I would have had my dog taken away from me. And I should, because I'm an anti-Semite. I don't deserve the love of a dog.
Go work for Republicans.
Oh my
It's all
God,
good there.
They're soulless.
Yeah, and again, he put out a statement basically saying, if you don't accept the Republican position on Israel, we're basically going to stop giving money to your university.
Cool.
Stuff like that. Like, it's very much a, look, I'm doing this stuff for Jews. No, you're doing it for Republicans.
It's so bad.
And these other Christians are totally fine with going along with all of it. He also said, by the way, I forgot this. Sorry, it happened like days ago, so I've forgotten it. He said to a Jewish crowd at the Israeli-American Council, he spoke to them and said, you don't love it. There are some of you who don't love Israel enough. And then he also said, you have to vote for me, basically, because if you don't vote for me, you're going to lose your money. And, you know, Jews.
Woof.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
He said, you're not going to vote for the wealth tax. Let's take 100% of your wealth away. No. Even if you don't like me, and some of you don't, some of you I don't like. Actually, you're going to be my biggest supporters because you'll be out of business in about 15 minutes. By the way, no one's doing 100% wealth tax. But also, it's like, you're Jews. You have money. You have to vote for me, right? You have to, even if you don't like me. Haha, I'm a friend of the Jews.
Vote for me. Yikes.
That was like a pre-written type of speech you give.
That's a lot for me to handle right now.
Yeah.
Do you have more to talk about, or can I read a nice letter?
I have more, but you can read a nice letter.
This is from Kinney. A new episode drops. I do not pass go. I do not collect $100. I immediately listen. It ends. I subsequently get very sad for my lack of patience and delayed gratification. You have a nice balance of politics and other stories. I feel like I know more about church and state separation than ever before, and my desire to protect it grows daily. I'm equally shocked, horrified, tickled, and hopeful each week.
That's
I'm
sweet.
shocked anyone comes out of
I
our
like
podcast
that.
feeling hopeful.
That makes one of us.
don't.
Yeah. This is a story that happened this morning, but I wanted to talk about it before it becomes a bigger deal, because it will, and it should.
Okay.
Here's the story. Andrea Anderson, she's a mom in Minnesota. She has 5 kids. She is a licensed foster mom.
Okay.
And one night earlier this year, she and her partner had sex. Hey, it's a thing people do. And the next morning, she's like, oh, no, I think the condom broke or something. I don't want to get pregnant. So called her doctor, got a morning after pill prescription, went to the local, it's called Thrifty White Pharmacy. That's the name of the chain.
I'm sorry, Thrifty White?
You know those people.
That's my rapper name.
Yeah, exactly. So she goes to the pharmacy, and basically, the pharmacist on duty, George Badeau, refused to fill it based on his beliefs. And then he warned her against trying a nearby pharmacy. And then she went to a local she went to a CVS, but this was farther away. The CVS pharmacist would not help her.
You're fucking kidding me.
She eventually had to drive more than 50 miles from her home to find a pharmacy that would fill her prescription. And now she's suing those first 2 places.
Yes, girl, get it.
She's doing it with the help of a group called Gender Justice, but they just filed a lawsuit against basically the parent companies of Thrifty White and CVS, saying, like,
good.
You guys didn't do the one thing you're supposed to do.
Yeah, give me medicine.
Yeah. She had to drive over 100 miles, according to the lawsuit. Anderson drove over 100 miles round trip in the snowstorm in order to fill her prescription. While the drive normally takes over 2 hours, it took 3 hours because of the storm. By the way, here's the good news, if there's anything to be found here. Thrifty White said that pharmacist is no longer working for them, though they didn't specify what the deal is there. Because it's been a year now. So I don't know if he got fired because of this, or if they fired him for another reason, or he quit because he didn't want to get fired, because that's a thing. And CVS says we're looking into it because we've gotten dinged for this before.
Yeah. And
we have policies in place. Clearly something happened. We're looking into it. But take that as you will. I just go back to none of the lawsuit didn't say this, and the stories about this didn't say it. We don't know if they did it because they're Christian or Catholic or whatever you want to call it. They just said it's my beliefs.
Sure.
So I don't want to just assume it's a religious belief when it could just be they're dumb.
Yeah, but the Venn diagram of people who are anti-choice and Christians is a circle.
Right. But the idea here is, look, if you're a pharmacist and you think your job is to pass judgment on people, and not saying I'm not going to give you this prescription because I think the medicine could be bad for you or it's going to have a bad effect on you, which is a legit concern, but also...
And part of their job.
And part of their job. This is not that. Then you should find a new line of work. Yeah. That's it. You're not working for the Christian pharmacy where you just get to randomly pick which things people get. And again, they've done this with like 14-year-old teenage girls who might need birth control for sex reasons too. They're like, nope, you're not getting it from me because I know what that means. It's like, one, none of your business. Two, there may be other reasons. And if you were a pharmacist or a doctor or whatever, you would know that.
Yeah. You know what's wild is if you kind of shifted the lens and say there was a Muslim working at a deli counter.
Yeah.
And would
or
do
a
the
vegetarian
roast beef,
working at Burger King.
But would do roast beef and do cheese and turkey. But anytime somebody ordered any kind of pork product, they'd be like, no, absolutely not. I won't do that. People would be up in fucking arms. Christians would go bananas crazy.
If I'm working at McDonald's, you want a Big Mac? I don't do Big Macs.
That.
You can drive 50 miles.
Can I interest you in a shake? What is there that's vegetarian at McDonald's?
Not much.
Shake and fries?
I go to Burger King. I don't really...
What? Oh, they have the Impossible Burger?
They have the apple pies. Those are pretty good.
Oh, I do.
That's what I had as a child.
I thought you meant for lunch today?
No.
Anyway.
So,
that's
by the way, I should say, there's no law in the state that says, like...
What? Laws don't prioritize women's health? I cannot believe it.
Yeah, they have no law overseeing the kind of situation. However, the governor's a Democrat, the state house is a Democrat, and the state Senate only has a slight GOP edge. There's no reason they can't pass a law.
You said this is Minnesota?
This is Minnesota, so...
Yeah, they've been leaning left lately, too, so...
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, I have a letter from Kia. Guess why I started with this one? I would just like to start by saying I love Jessica and her voice. I love how much she says fuck, and I love every single feminist rant she goes off on. Men are trash, even my husband agrees. Mine too, Kia. Hemmett, you're pretty good too.
Thank you.
You have posed questions that really make me think, that have challenged how I view the world and made me question what kind of person I want to be. I've grown, and you've helped me with that. So I would like to say thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for helping me come to a new understanding. Thank you for helping me shape my new worldview post-religion. I can honestly say I'm an atheist, and that's a really freeing way to think.
That's awesome.
This one is from Matthew. Matthew grew up in Switzerland in a conservative church. I kind of knew I was gay since I was 13 years old, but because of my conservative surroundings, I ignored and suppressed my feelings and always thought God would heal me. After years and years of shame and guilt, I had to change something because this God I believed in so much wasn't doing anything. That was when I realized that either being gay doesn't change or God is just the worst creature in the universe. Either way, my faith was shaken and I started researching myself. That's when I found you and your podcast. It helped me reason my way out of religion. Now, this was 2 years ago. I came out as gay in front of my whole church, about 700 people. I had a lot of discussions with people from my church. In the beginning, I lost a lot of friends. I was outcasted and alone, but it was worth it. I now live with my boyfriend, work as an atheist activist, and my life couldn't be better. A lot of my reasoning was because of you. I had so many discussion points, which I could use in my discussions. I'm really glad I found your podcast. You helped me change my life in a way I never imagined. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's very good.
There's a Wall Street Journal essay this week that was raising a lot of concern. It was written by a psychoanalyst, Erica Komisar, and what she wrote is that parents who are atheists should lie to their kids for their sake. Here's what she wrote. I'm often asked by parents, how do I talk to my child about death if I don't believe in God or heaven?
Okay.
My answer is always the same. Lie.
Oh.
The idea that you just simply die and turn to dust may work for some adults, but it doesn't help children. Belief in heaven helps them grapple with this tremendous and incomprehensible loss.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's not great.
Like, horrible advice. By the way, there are ways to talk to kids about death in a way that's honest and that has nothing to do with like saying, yeah, grandma's in the ground now, get over it. That's how these people think atheists talk to their kids about death. And it's like not at all a conversation people have. I mean, look, as someone who's not a professional in any of these fields, You could easily let's talk about the memory someone left behind,
Sure.
the legacy they're going to leave behind, how we have to make the most of the life we have, how we are better off because that person was in our life, at least temporarily. You could talk about death in ways that will make sense to kids. It's not difficult even if it's not well known. And this lady's response is, nope, just lie. They need to be deluded about heaven in order to have a, I guess, normal upbringing or something.
Yeah, that's not
Which,
great.
by the way, would come with the also, if you want to teach them, hey, grandma's in heaven now, there's also the possibility she's burning in hell, which I would argue is way more traumatic to tell kids.
Yeah, and way more likely when it comes to my family.
Yeah.
Burn Bloomkies. Do you remember the first time like somebody in your family died, and how did your what's the Jane
I've
belief
been lucky
on?
that it didn't. There's a way, I'm sure, but I've been lucky that I was, I think, in high school when I had a close relative die.
Yeah.
It wasn't as a kid.
Yeah, my grandma died when I was in junior high or high school.
Yeah, and so I was okay. I was able to deal with it. You know what I mean? I was able to deal with it, and I was already an atheist by that time, and I didn't need help to process it. You know what I mean? But my kids have had those losses already, and the oldest one is 4. She's young enough to understand that grandma's not coming back, or great grandma's not coming back, or what have you. And so, again, we can have those conversations. We could talk about what that means. I don't know how much of it is getting through. But it wasn't traumatic.
Right.
It's more like, how do you make sense of this to a child? How do you talk about death to someone who doesn't understand what it is?
Sure.
But the point is, there are ways to do it.
Right.
There are so many atheist counselors out there, professionals in these types of fields, who could easily have told you how to do it.
Yeah.
None of them. Have I ever heard any of them say, you should lie to your kids about it, as if that's a good way for them to cope.
Yeah, I feel like if it starts with lying to your kids, it's maybe not a strong starting point. You're gonna make fun of me for this, but the first time I remember suffering a loss was my best friend's dog. Her name was Maggie. She's a chocolate lab. I was obsessed with her. They lived right around the corner, so I could bike over there. I was obsessed with this dog, and I remember when she died. I remember vividly. Daddy, could you not? As I talk about another dog who died, she's being an asshole. I remember sitting in my friend's mom's lap, who's my second mother, and she was like, God just needed a really good dog up in heaven and called her home, blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't have been more than in second grade, maybe. But even at that time, I was like, that doesn't ring true, nor is it comforting. That was the problem with me. That doesn't comfort. I am grieving my loss of this friend that I had, and imagining her somewhere else that I still couldn't get to. I wasn't sad because I didn't necessarily understand the concept of death. It was I want to see Maggie every day. I've seen this dog every day for my entire life. Anyway, and I was young enough that she was trying to comfort me. She was doing her best. I was wrecked. I was a fucking mess. But anyway, I just remember very vividly being I don't think, because I didn't have that foundation of when somebody dies, we discuss it in this way of them going up to heaven, because we just hadn't discussed it in my family very much. Anyway, that was a very good dog. I'm going to read another story.
As one commenter pointed this out, you know what's worse than talking to a child about death? You know what's worse than that? The realization that their parents are willing to lie to them for the sake of convenience, because they're going to figure that out.
Yeah, that's a good point. Especially if you don't, because that's why it's a lie, right? Because if you don't believe it.
Right.
I've got a letter from Scott, who is, I'm going to cut some of this. He is an organ player. So he now plays, he used to play for the Catholic Church, but then he moved on to Protestant churches, and he does it to supplement his public school music teacher salary. So good job, America. Our teachers can't live off one job. Neat. Sitting there in an organ console one Sunday, I thought, wow, this is just some complete fiction bullshit. And then I dove into Richard Dawkins, pretty much all the footage of Hitchens that exists on YouTube. I need more atheist content to keep me sane throughout my work as a church organist. That's when I found your podcast. I usually listen either on my way to church or from church choir rehearsal or on my way home from church on Sundays, which is I was not expecting somebody to say they listen to us on their way home from church.
I love it.
Ronell missed. I owe you such a tremendous thanks for what you do. At the end of 2015, I was standing in my kitchen and had for the very first time, allowed myself to think critically about my beliefs. I realized nearly instantly that I was an atheist. Suddenly, a lot of things started to make much more sense. I suddenly felt very scared and alone, so I searched for atheist podcasts in my podcast app and found Friendly Atheist. Once I started listening to you, I felt less alone. I felt I had the courage to reach out to secular groups and connect with some truly great people. I truly hope you have many more happy anniversaries.
That's sweet.
Thank you, Ronald.
Thank you all. I have one last story for you. This is in Louisiana. There's the Bossier Parish School Board, and this is a district that was hit with a major lawsuit a while back. Basically, every school in the district, it seems, was promoting Christianity everywhere you look. So we're talking head coaches praying with the student athletes. We're talking prayers over the loudspeakers at football games, school events held at churches, choir performances that were singing Christian worship music, creationism in class. Like, it was bad. There was a lawsuit. The board eventually settled because they knew they were going to lose. And they said, look, we're going to stop all this, and we're going to stop it from happening again.
Okay.
And basically, when you sign the settlement, you're saying, I know there's going to be hell to pay if we are found breaking the law again. So it worked out the way it needed to. It shouldn't have taken a lawsuit to do it, but there you go. One of the schools in the district is Airline High School. And they have a student newspaper. And I guess in this month's issue, the plan was for the cover to feature like a Christmas tree with ornaments, and each ornament has something a student is thankful for over the holidays. And one of the ornaments said, I love Jesus, which isn't a thing that you're thankful for, that you love. Okay, whatever. But okay, that was the thing. So as it goes to press, the principal who has to oversee all this stuff is like, oh, no. I don't know if this is a problem, but I don't want to make the decision here. Let me send it to the superintendent. Let me send it to our lawyer, whatever. Yeah. Which is fine. If you don't know what to do, that's the right thing to do. And basically, the district's lawyer said, this could be a problem. You know what? We're just going to say you got to change the cover or whatever. Yeah. We're not letting this go. The student newspaper, in response, published a blank front page, kind of a protest, which actually was that's clever. So that's fine. So they printed the blank front page. But there was an article in the Bossier Press Tribune. Basically, that publisher of that paper, who also prints the school newspaper, so he knew about this, that, we're not printing that one? Why not? He knew. He put out this long essay saying, how dare they?
How dare the people not... How dare the students, or how dare the...
How dare the school district put a stop to this? He said, quote, the rights of the majority of the students were violated. Whoa. In this case, the voice of Christianity was silenced. What a tragedy. Isn't it a shame?
It's a literal Christmas tree, my dude.
Yeah. Isn't it a shame and an unspeakable tragedy that in today's United States of America, a student expressing I love Jesus on the front page of a school newspaper is seen as unacceptable? Folks, we have to stand up. Christianity is under attack. That was just a little bit of his long rant.
So brave.
And to all of which, you could just say, they didn't censor anything. The kid can still love Jesus and celebrate Christmas.
Right.
And I would argue, look, if they actually said, we're putting this Christmas tree, or whatever you want to call it, on the cover, and we invited a whole bunch of students to respond, and this is how they responded, I don't even know that anyone would have cared.
No, I don't think so either.
Like, as long as the option was there for someone who said, I love Hanukkah, or I don't celebrate Christmas. I mean, as long as that option was there for students to submit something, like, whatever. I don't think this was a big deal.
Right.
But the fact that the school district said, we're going to play it super safe here because we're not sure and we don't want to get in trouble, that I actually appreciate. That you are so concerned about, like, doing the wrong thing again, because you've done it so many times, that you're being overly cautious to the point where you're like, you know what, just no to this. Even though I'm guessing if you're an atheist or church separation lawyer, you're like, it's not really a big deal. I think that's what they would have said. But that they're going overboard, the school board, and saying, like, whatever, let's play it safe, no to this. Good.
Yeah.
Then the settlement worked.
Right.
And the lawsuit worked, because now they're super cautious. Like, I'm happy to see that. And screw this guy who's a publisher of a newspaper and doesn't understand what censorship actually is.
Oh, man, I love people misunderstanding censorship.
Yeah, so
It really makes me feel so smart.
Dude, we're all lawyers when we're talking about church-state separation.
Right, exactly.
All right, I'm done with stuff.
You're done? Okay, let me, I've got a handful more.
Yes.
I would just like to run through them because a lot of them are very nice. From Rebecca, who I made a cross stitch for. I started listening to the Friendly Atheist podcast in March 2019. It quickly became one of my favorites. I was already an atheist when I discovered the podcast, but I've been listening to it unreligiously every week. While it was slowly destroying all my faith in humanity, I really enjoyed the banter between him and Jessica. Yes. See, that's the thing I'm going for. Destroy faith in humanity. Because if I feel like this, I think everybody around me does too. Ryan, who the first part of his letter, he's ex-military, grew up very, very, very Republican. You've both inspired me to open up about my religious views with my family. My family took it better than I expected when he came out as an atheist, and my grandparents were disappointed, but the relationship hasn't changed much. Funnily enough, they were more upset with my political views changing more than my atheism. I cannot thank you enough for the work you both do. Just keep my story in mind when things get bleak. People can change, and you both have a voice in inspiring that change.
Good.
These are such nice letters. Also, he said he voted for Hillary, which I was into. From Ryan, Unrack, Ona Ross and Carrie, was the podcast that really helped open my eyes to the blind conviction I had in my faith. After stumbling through several post-faith and atheist podcasts, I landed on yours. Over the last 5 years, you guys have been a mainstay in my subscription list. As other podcasts come and go, you guys are always there, my friends from Aurora. Thank you. That was from Ryan. Molly, Your podcasts bring a young, fresh perspective and political, societal awareness to the issues facing our supposedly secular nation. I recommend your podcast to any people that seem interested. I'm happy to say that several of my friends now follow you on social media. Thank you. You've greatly helped counter the angry atheist stereotype I have adopted many of your friendly ways when dealing with God botherers and the like. This is from Helen. I'm a new atheist, almost a year old, which I was really enjoying. A lot of people would say how old they were as atheists.
I'm a baby atheist.
Almost a year old. Yours is one of the first podcasts I found. I listened to the entire archives and played the new weekly episode the moment it comes out. I've learned so much from you both. You inspired me to be better and to challenge myself. From Eugene. He follows me on Twitter. I see him once in a while. I've been listening to your podcast about 3 years now, and I look forward to hearing it every week. Your podcast is the first atheism one I found shortly after discovering this medium. I enjoy the style and format. For me, it's like listening is like hanging out with a couple of very cool friends. Haven't.
No one's ever said
cool.
that. That's not true.
3 more. This is from Elaine. The Friendly Atheist was the very first atheist content I started following. I enjoyed that you also talk about politics and share my same views on that as well. Since I don't have anyone I could talk to about my newfound atheism, I enjoy listening to Hemmett and Jessica talk about what I couldn't put into words. I haven't missed an episode since I found you guys. My views have branched more towards skepticism as a label for myself. And by the way, thanks Jessica for mentioning Ona Ross and Carrie, which has led me to finding the skeptic movement. A couple of these ones that mentioned Ona Ross and Carrie, I shared with Ross from Ona Ross and Carrie. I hope that's okay. He was very delighted to see them. From Adam, you've been invaluable in keeping people up to date on Christian right's quest to stay in power and force everyone to obey their rules, even as their influence dwindles in society. Local school board stories, lawsuits filed by the Christian right across filed by the Christian right to access government funds, and keeping tabs on things like Project Blitz are why I love the show. So I find what you guys do so important, to collect and document items that affect atheists' freedom, especially in a time when we don't have much power or friends in control of the government. Once again, congratulations on 300 episodes. Thank you for all you do. Eric says, my wife, so he bounced to church, converted to Greek Orthodox when he married his wife. He's also a BSU grad. Chirp, chirp. Mm-hmm. My friend knows how I feel in regards to my questioning of belief, but I have yet to say the A word to her. I'm not sure how well that will go over. For now, this is something that I will be keeping to myself and share with you, my dear friends of the Friendly Atheist. Through my readings and research, I found you guys. I cannot thank you enough for what you do. I look forward to listening to you guys on my commute to and from work. You help me solidify my beliefs, and I thank you. And then Adam, the podcast really helped me feel comfortable outwardly acknowledging my atheism and standing on my own with my religious family and friends. I really appreciate all the work you put into the podcast, and it's my favorite one to listen to every week.
Thank you guys so much for all these
and
notes.
I couldn't
That's
read them
awesome.
all. This was a lot. Anyway, I appreciate y'all sending these in. Like, some of these were long, and I read...
And we read them.
Yeah, we read every single one of them.
They were sweet.
Yeah. Man, it's
nice to know that people are listening because there are so many gazillion podcasts out there, and you never know because you don't get immediate feedback or anything.
Yeah.
So it's sweet that people are willing to take some time and write letters.
Yeah,
Thank you.
into the kind of the nature of podcasting is it's just me and Hemet in my kitchen every week.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get feedback really at all. So it takes something like this to be like, are we doing this right? Like, is this what you want it to be? And it's meant a lot. It really makes me feel good that a lot of people, and I didn't obviously cut these down a lot of people talked about how their views, because I think most people coming to this were at least atheist curious. But it was really...
I forgot. There was one I may have sent along to you. I can't remember. But someone said, I disagree with all your takes, but I listen because I want to hear what like the other side is saying. Yeah, I think I wrote back like, "We'll get you eventually" or something like that. Where that's fine, that's good because it's nice that you're willing to listen to people you totally disagree with, and I hope that we're convincing at some point because I don't think you're going to change your mind like that. It's going to take a while.
Yeah,
and the only way that's going to happen is if you're constantly exposing yourself to those other ideas to begin with. Yeah,
and it always it is obviously very special in my heart when somebody says that they changed their views on feminism or women's rights because they heard somebody talking about that. That is very meaningful to me. And one time, I don't know if I've said this on the show, from my dad called after he listens to once in a while. And my dad, who was a lifelong Republican, but voted for Hillary and has already dedicated himself to phone banking for whoever the Democratic nominee is. He fucking hates Trump. He called me. He's like, you know, Jessica, I agree with 99% of the things that you say, but I'm just a lot less angry about it than you. And I was like, that's fine. I'm angry enough for everybody.
Everyone should everyone can give us a gift of like, go volunteer for your local campaigns.
Work in your local campaigns. Donate a couple bucks to your favorite Democratic candidate. There's Pod Save America is doing a thing where you can donate to whoever the ultimate nominee is because this is one of the reasons that incumbents often win is that they don't have to primary, and primarying is extremely expensive. So once you get to the nomination point, your coffers are kind of low. So I know Pod Save America is doing a thing that it's just you're donating to whoever becomes the candidate, so they have the money to take on Trump and his media behemoth. Also, Stacey Abrams is doing a voting rights group that she's making sure that people in some threatened states have the right to vote. And she's doing really, really great work. So I would recommend checking that out too if you're looking for somewhere good to spend your money.
It's called Fair Fight.
Fair Fight. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you do
support
donate to one of
the next
these,
vice presidential candidate.
What? The next? Oh, God. So anyway, guys, thank you for listening. This is such a wild turn of events in my life. I really was never expecting to be here and be like a weird radio personality. That was, I don't know. It's exciting and it's very flattering. And
it's nice to not sit at a computer and type stuff out. It's nice to actually talk the stuff out with like actual human.
Yeah, it is. And it also,
so I appreciate it.
I try to, if I see something that I know is going to come onto the show, I really try to like avoid it so I can take it in along with everybody and figure out like what's going on, what do I really think, like what's the big picture, and not be reactionary, which is really easy to do.
Yeah.
And not to say I'm not reactionary. But anyway, you guys, thank you. Thank you for your support and your ongoing listenership. You can, if you like what we do and want to help us keep doing it, like we just got new mics because we had some complaints that our sound quality was getting shitty. You can donate at patreon.com/friendlyatheistpodcast. It also helps make sure my dog has food to eat every day.
Leave reviews. Share.
I did my favorite thing, which is I was having drinks with friends and pulled up the podcast reviews so I could read mean things about myself to my friends. Not as many as there used to be. It's really disappointing. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Blueberry. I'm going to say it slow. Somebody told me they had trouble understanding me. Also, I don't think English was their first language, so I understand why you can't understand shit I say. It's Blueberry, BLUEBURIE. It's stupid, I know. It was my friend's nickname for me in high school, and I didn't know anyone would need to know my fucking Twitter handle when I was 22. Haven't met
in high school. I haven't met go to friendlyatheist.com.
Yeah, email us at friendlyatheistpodcast@gmail.com if you want to. Maybe we'll read more nice letters, because it really made me... Turns out when people say nice things about you, it makes you happy. Did you know that?
No one does it, so I don't know.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.